Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I will be explaining about creating a custom shaped border. For this purpose, I am starting a WPF app in .NET Framework. This application will not need any external libraries, including Haley. So we will be keeping it uh, strictly to the standard controls. I will be using only the standard controls. Before that, I will explain the main goal behind this video. Let me create a simple border. I'll remove this grid. I will start with the border, and let us put a margin here, margin of maybe 20. Then let us put some content, grid, text block, text, hello world, or data analytics. Okay, this text I will keep it horizontal alignment is center and vertical alignment is center. That's fine. And the border, let us add a color. Background is purple, and we can change the color from here. So something like that looks better. So something like this. In text block foreground, let us change to white. Foreground is white, and font size is probably 16 or maybe 18. That looks nice. Okay, let's keep it 14. So we have something here. Now with the current border or the default border, what we can do, the only customization is corner radius is 10, a corner radius is 20. We can only adjust the corner radius here, and which will be applied on all four sides. What if you want to modify the external shape of your borders? You have some kind of a custom special requirement, maybe in the shape of a folder. So in those cases, you will not be able to use the default setup. You need to modify something. Before that, I will add some kind of effect. Let us add drop shadow effect with. Let me zoom in first, so that you know what's happening. And this one, instead of the width is 400, let us make 200, and this one is 150. This looks nice. So this one, the corner radius, let it be 5, maybe 10. And if you take a closer look, the shadow is falling on one side, so we don't need the shadow depth to be on one side. So shadow depth is equal to 0, so that when you apply 0, the depth is it's like the shadow is equally distributed across all the sides. Let us make the blur radius as maybe 8. If you make it more, it will be like this. Let us just keep it mild, so let's make it 10. Okay, we have a shape here now. And imagine that you are building some kind of a dashboard where you want to show some buttons or data analytics or some number values, where you want to display something like this, and you want to make your custom border or shape, a trapezoid shape or something, whatever it might be. In such cases, you want to modify the borders. And default border is not something that you like. In most cases, default border will be sufficient enough, but if there is a special requirement for you to modify something, then you can follow this approach. To understand the approach, I will first hide everything. Maybe before that, let us do something interesting. I will start with a scroll viewer, and then I will put a wrap panel, and wrap panel orientation is going to be horizontal. And inside this wrap panel, I will put my border. Let us assume this is our what do we call, our button or something of that sort. And scroll viewer should not show this vertical thing by the scroll viewer by default. So vertical scroll viewer visibility is auto. so that only when there is a requirement it will be visible. And let's make the width as 500 and height as 350. So we have something like this now. And this bonder, even though we have given the margin and everything, once you put something inside a wrap panel, the height and width will be sized to content, which means that based upon the size of your content, the wrap panel will adjust the overall size. So you need to specifically or deliberately set the size so that it remains the same. So height is going to be maybe 100, and width is going to be let's see if it looks nice, 140. That looks much better now. And I will just take this whole item and create something called as a data template, so that I don't need to modify something again and again. But then again, will I be able to send the values? But that's a different story. So let me, you can still use what do you call data binding. But first let us add a resource dictionary, and inside the resource dictionary add this data template. Data template means that you are taking the whole border and you are assigning it a key, and then you say that this is my we need to name it something like let's name it as custom card, or I will put underscore card, custom card. So this is my custom card, and inside the wrap panel I will just add content controls, whose content template is going to be a static resource, custom. If the name is not correct, I will just copy paste it. Custom card. Okay, and I will add multiple cards here. So now this is like this. Why did I add a wrap panel instead of something else? As the name suggests, it will wrap them up. So once it, if it's able to add three sizes, it will add the third one here, and then if it's not there, it will just go to left to right, and then it will go back down and left to right, something like that. It's a wrapping the whole list. Let us modify this now. Margin we don't need 20. Let us make it 4 or maybe 5, so that there is a much better gap. Okay, that is 5. And corner radius 10 looks nice. It doesn't make much difference. And the whole wrap panel I will add a margin of 10 so that it doesn't go towards the border. Now we have something here. Currently this data analytics value is going to be all static. The reason being, we do not have a we do not have a model, like a view model is not there. We are directly giving the value. In case you do have a view model, or you have a yeah, not only view model, even from the code behind, if you have a notify property changed item, which will be notifying the UI when something gets changed, in such cases you can do the data binding directly. You can just bind it to binding, and then the values, and each one card will show different values. But that's not the case here. We are not worried about how the data mining is going to happen, because this whole video is not about that. We're only going to see how the shape can be modified. So for understand, by now you should understand the reason why we are going to do this. Before we begin with modifying the borders, you need to learn about paths and path geometry, because the whole shape you can cut them with the path. So before you learn about path, I'm going to take you to different I will start with the whiteboard, Microsoft whiteboard. Okay, I'm going to explain a few concepts. I have already set up. Let me set it like this. Okay, now that looks better. Okay, so what I have here is my Microsoft whiteboard, which I have already drawn the x and y axis to explain you about absolute values. Most of you should have learned this in your primary schools, or maybe your secondary schools. This is just to refresh your knowledge on this. Imagine that you are having a graph. X-axis goes from 10, 20, 30, 40, and y-axis goes from 10, 20, 30, 40. In a normal graph, Let me draw here something. Let me go to black. Okay, let us assume that this is your normal graph. What we will have is something like this. So this will be your x, and this will be positive x and positive y. This will obviously be your negative x. So this will be negative x and positive y, and this will be your negative y. So here the values will be negative x, negative y, and negative y, positive x. This is how our normal graph structure works. But when it comes to WPF, the whole idea is everything is towards your right and then to your down. So this is how it is in WPF. Minus x. This is your 0 comma 0. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me do. The whole item is a single one. Okay, so let me delete it. Let me try to draw. I'm using a Wacom tablet, a touch one, so I'm not able to draw clearly, but let me try. Okay, this is your positive y and this is your negative y. This is how it is in WPF. In your normal graph that we have learned in our school, it's like x is the upward direction is positive y and the right side is positive x, and x plus y. When you say something like this, it's like this. But here in WPF, when you say 0 comma 0 positive x, the values always goes towards your right. When you say some positive y value, it goes down, it doesn't go up. So you should know this basic difference here. Now let us go back to the screen that we have here. There we go. So considering this positive x and positive y, this is your minus x and this is your minus y. I'll take a different color, this one with the thick one. Okay, so this is absolute values. The values can be two things. Absolute values is whatever the values, it will always take from your 0 point. So this is your 0 point, right? So let me put a break. This is your 0 point. So when you say 10 comma 20, it will always take from the 0 point. That is your absolute values. When you give relative values, whatever is your current point or the last point, if there is no last point, then the 0 comma 0 will be considered as the last point. So based upon that, your new points will be located. So that is what we are going to learn in this small section. We are going to learn how the absolute values are plotted and relative values are plotted. So I have 5 values here. Let me plot them for you. X is 10, so let's go 10 here. I am here, and y is 20, so let us go down. This is my first one. So x is 10 and y is 20. So y is 20, so we are going down. Second one is x is 20 and y is 10. So we are somewhere here. So this is my second point. Third one is x is 30. So we are here in the x-axis 30 and y-axis 10. So we are here. Fourth one is x is 40. So we are here. Y is 30. So we are here. So this one is our third point and this one is our fourth point, and fifth point is again 10 comma 20, which is our same starting point. So this is 4 points plotted using the absolute values, because we are always calculating from 0 comma 0. I will now try to join them all using a line. Just bear with me, because I'm not sure if I will be able to draw a perfect line to I didn't draw it, so let me delete it. I will try once more. My god, my bad. Let me try. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's perfect. It automatically changed into straight shapes because I have activated ink to shape. So I draw something like this. Now that turns into a shape in Microsoft whiteboard. So I didn't do that. So this is our shape in absolute values. What if we try to do the same in relative values? There we go. Let's try to do the same in relative values 10 comma 20. So since we do not have any value at first, so 0 comma 0 is considered, x is 10 and y is 20. Let me take a blue pen here. 10 comma 20, 10 comma 20. This is my first point. Now pay close attention. X is 20, y is 10. So which means from this point x is 20. So I am at x is equal to 10. So what happens when I add 20? X is 20 means 10 plus 20, 30. Here x is 30. At, just see y is 10 now, which means whatever is my current y value, which is 20, I am going to add one more 20, 10. So I am going, if you take a close attention here, 10 plus 20 is 30, 20 plus 10 is 30. So we are going 30, 30. So that's what happening here. X is 20, I'm going 20 on the x, and y, am I going down or going up? I'm going down because it's positive value. So here, and let's see again. What is there? Third one is x is 30, y is 10. So to 30, right? If I add one more 30, I will go here till somewhere in 60 maybe, and then from there I go another 10. So I will be here. This is my third point. And fourth point is x is 40. What happens then? I will go still further away, like from this particular 60, I will go till 100. So the point what happens here is when you are going to do something in relative, so it goes like this. You are not able to achieve this particular shape because the values are relative. So from the current point, you are adding the values again and again. Now let us see something else. What I am going to do is I have created a set of values, relative values, using which we will try to achieve the same feat. So I will just copy this, control copy, and then I will go towards the right and paste here. Okay, this time instead of this stupid numbers, I'll just take my relative values. Just pay close attention. 10 comma 20. Okay, first point is, let's take the blue pen. X is 10, y is 20. I'm here, and from here I need to go 10 on the x positive and minus 10 on the y negative, because and then from here I my y is 0, so I am going to be on the x line. So x is 10, so here 30, and from here again another positive x, positive y, positive x 10, positive y 10, and then minus 30 from 40. So 40 minus 30, so which means on the x-axis I am going on the reverse direction. 40 minus 30 is 10, so I am going here. So now what we have done is, let me just believe that this is going to be perfect. Yeah. Okay, so what happened here? The same shape with this value is absolute. Now we have achieved using relative values. Let us try to compare the values now. Let me take this up, and zoom in here to see what we have. This is our values. Absolute values goes like 30, 40, and you need to give the absolute points on the graph. But relative values kind of looks easy when you are dealing with a small or short objects that you will shortly understand when you are drawing the path. But this is the whole idea: relative values and absolute values. Okay, now that by now you should have a better idea about the relative values and absolute values. If not, just watch this section alone again. Let's go to the code. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new window. The reason why I'm creating a new window or maybe a new control is I need to see what I'm doing, and then I will delete it probably. So let's say test or rough work, add them. There we go. We have a rough control now. And I will turn on this white toggle background. And let me. So, I will go here. So how do we do a path? Remember, a path can be done using different ways. You can achieve the same feat using different ways. You can use path geometries, or you can directly use the path data. Here, I'm not going to teach about adding different path geometries and sections or segments. I will teach about directly applying the data. So let us start with something called path. That's it. And path has so many values. That is, you can always take a look at the properties by taking here, look at the values here, or you can move your mouse or select this and press F12 so that you will move inside this value. And the path has something called data, and then defining geometry. So this is the data is the one that we are going to fill now. The data I will show how to do, and I will press shape and again press F12. So what are the properties that I have here? I have stretch, stroke, dash array, dash offset, line value, fill property, the pen line cap, fill. I have so many properties. Uh, so let us start with stroke. Stroke is purple. Why did I choose purple? Let's choose blue. Stroke is nothing but a line that you're going to draw. Stroke thickness is the line thickness. Stroke thickness, let us say 5 at present, because we are going to understand how this works. Um, Let me put this first inside a canvas. You don't even need inside a canvas. Okay, so we have this whole control, right? And you can see the topmost corner here, the left top. So that will be assumed as your 0, 0. So if you draw a geometry, let's say the data is equal to, now I'm going to explain about four things. Where will I add? Where will I add? I will add a note so that it will be easy to understand. A new item. Note, 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 note. Search for note, or maybe text file. Let's call it as path note. Okay. So what we have is M. M is move command. L is line command, and H is horizontal line command. I will just remove command from now on. V is vertical, and I will do something here. The whole purpose of my previous section is M, M, L, L, H, H, V, V. So this is a vertical line, and S, S, which is your smooth Bezier curve, and then A, R. And not only this, and finally we have one more Z or Z, whatever it is. This is close. Not only this, you have so many different options as well, but most of the difficult items can be, or most of the basic geometries or difficult geometries can be achieved with these commands. This is just an introduction into the path geometry, and then the shapes. I will just stick to only explaining about these things. So if you see, I have entered a capital one, and then a small caps and all caps. So the small caps means the capital letter means that you are going to use absolute values, start from 0, 0, just like we saw in the previous section. Small letter means you are going to use relative values. That's the major difference here between capital and small letter. Let's go to the rough work, start the data. And then one more important note. What is M? Imagine pen up and move to a point. What about line command or this one? Pen down and move. So I think this should pretty much be straightforward and self-explanatory. Imagine that you are writing on a paper. I say move from one point to another. If I use M command, you take the pen up from the paper and then you move your hand, which means whatever you draw on the paper will not be visible because you have just moved the pen from one point to another, but you are not drawing anything. But when you give L, H, V, S, A, Z, whatever it is, all these are also move command. You are basically moving your pen from one point to another point. But this is like pen down. You are putting the pen on the paper and you are moving so that the shape is displayed on the screen. But M command is like you take the pen up and then move. So you should know that. So you need a start point. So whatever you do, always start somewhere. So for this small basic explanation, I will start from 1020. So my starting point is M. This is capital M. So what I'm going to do is I will start with 10 comma 20. Should I use comma? Yeah, 10 comma. I don't need comma. 1020. So what I have here, first point is M1020, and this is absolute values. Let me put the title as well here, absolute values. Second point is 20 comma 10. Okay, what is the second point? Is this a line? This is not a horizontal line or vertical line. This is just a line going from some point to another. So 20 comma 10. So line capital 20 comma 10. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Let's put 2. Okay. What about our third point? 30 comma 10. So line 30 comma 10. Then 40 20 10 20. Line 40 20 line 10 20. There you go. So if you see this, the final line is a line, right? That's what we have here now. This Z. When you put Z, what happens is it will not draw a line. Instead, from the last, whatever the point, to your first point, it will just make a connection. So instead of entering these values, I will just put Z. It doesn't matter for Z. Z is just a command. It's not going to take from absolute or relative values. So just Z. Did you notice something? When you, I will zoom in further. When the value was there, it is not connected. When I put Z, oops, Z, did I do some mistake? I removed everything. Too bad. I removed everything. I was at 2010, right? 2010. 30 10 40 20 30 10 40 20 30 10 40 20 30 10 40 20, and then finally Z. So now it is connected here. Now I will go back to path again, F12, shape again, shape again, and you have something called stroke dash array, stroke dash offset, stroke line, and most important, stroke dash cap. Okay, let us first start with this property, stroke dash, stroke dash cap is round. You don't see much difference here. Maybe it is very small. It's stroke dash cap. Stroke dash cap. So we need a stroke dash first. A stroke dash 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 array is let's say 1 comma 2 or 1 comma 4. So what happens here is one line and 4 times the equal gap, and instead of a triangle, let us say a round. So the end is in a round. So if you put just 1 comma 2, 1 dash and 2, and thickness, let us make it 1. Okay, so the end corner shapes are now changed, but I don't think you will need all these things. Let us remove them. So this is your path. Now let us just put or copy this and comment it out. Just pay close attention again. Instead of the capital, I'll just start with small letters. And if you see the Z, the end point and the starting point doesn't make any difference at this point. But anyhow, I'll start with M, 10, 20, and then 10 minus 10. 10, 20, and then you want a line 10. What did I do? I didn't make some mistake. L 10 minus 10, then 10 0 10 10. L 10, come on, I'm pressing my tab. 10 0 L 10 10. I will just put a auto correct is killing my time. 10 10, and finally you have 30 0, which I will close with Z. Now if you see here this H10 and then this H10 is a horizontal line. You are just moving horizontally, right? So you don't need to specify the y-axis since this is 0. I will say like move 10 towards the horizontal value. This is still making the same value. If you put 20, you're moving something like this. If you put 30, you're moving something. 20, 0 is a triangle. Okay, 10. So this is how you do it. What about the M again? What do you, instead of closing it up, if you put M and then say, from this particular point, the end point, move my mouse off 10 down. So what I'm saying is from this point, don't move my mouse towards the X, so 0, but Y move down. So what happened is from this point my mouse has now moved X0 Y10, and this is my next starting point. From this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror it. So towards my left, what did I do here? Then 10 10, right? Towards my left I'm going to go 10 down 10 left. So that's what I will do now. Left 10 10 left, 10 left, 10 down. So I was now able to do this. So let me now try to draw another line horizontally, and vertically we have to put 10, right? So now I will do the same. From this point horizontal 10, but it should be minus 10 because it is going in the positive direction. So minus 10 in the left side, and then we have one more up, which is 10 left, 10 up. So line small, come on again, minus 10 left and minus 10 up. There we go. If you wish to connect the line, finally put Z and the line is correct. Because the starting point is we already moved from here to here, that's why it got connected. So in this case, if you put a Z here, so this two got connected, but the problem is after this got connected here, we are moved to this point and then we are starting from here. So let me just stop it there and keep it like this. So this is how we use the data values. Once your path is completely closed, then you have one more option, which is fill. Then you can put purple, and this is purple. So this is even though it is not closed, this is the area that it is covering up, but here it is completely closed and we are able to get this. So by now you should have an idea about how the movements, the length line, everything is working. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to teach about something called arc. Where can I do it? The same one. Instead of this line, let me zoom in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line until here, and then I'm going to make a small arc and go up. So let us remove this like this. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to draw an arc now. At this point here, I'm going to draw an arc. As as we know before, A stands for capital A stands for absolute value. So we are going to start with small a. An arc has 5 values to be done. So it's not so easy to see from here. So for this purpose, I will go back to our code behind, and I will write something. Arc segment. Okay, if you want to know what are the parameters that it takes, you can try line segment, you can try I think there is only line segment, arc segment, and Bezier curve segment. base, I don't know, maybe, okay. Arc segment. Let me press F12, and you see arc has a point. So, we don't want to see here, we want to see only the constructor. So you see, arc starts with something called a point, which means this is the point where you want to be end, and then you have the size, which is the size of the arc, length. Like an arc is nothing but an ellipse. So you have the x size and y size, and then you have the rotation angle. Is this a large arc? And then the sweep direction, whether it is clockwise or anti-clockwise. If you press sweep direction F12, you will see that it is clockwise or counterclockwise. And then finally you have something called a stroke. So whether it is lined one or not. So let me just close it. So what we have here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values. So an arc segment can take 6 values, of which the most important thing that we need is point, size. So if you pay close attention, you could see that it's large, sweep and stroke are all like kind of two values, whether it is 0 or 1. So you cannot give more than 1. So let me close this, go back, and we don't need this. This was just to let you know how it works. So arc starts with an endpoint. Since this is a small arc, I'm going to say arc should be like, go 10 left, 10 up. So minus 10 left, minus 10 up. So once the point is done, after that what we had okay, I have very bad memory. So it's quite common. If you forget something, you can always go, and it doesn't matter. Like, you don't need to remember. You just need to remember how it is done. You don't need to remember every syntax. So what was it? Size. Size. So let us do one thing. Since I'm very bad at memory, we will just open this up, pin this here, go back and remove this and come back here. Okay, so what is this size? Size has two values, if you know, x and y. So what is my x value? Let's say, since we have already given 10 10, so which means like move 10 move 10, then if my curve is also 10 size in both, it will be a perfect curve, 90-degree curve. So 10 10, this is my size of the curve. And after the size, what did we have? We had a rotation angle and then large arc or not. So I don't care about the rotation angle. Let us keep 0 at present. And is this a large arc? No. Yes or no? 0 or 1? 0. So this is not a large arc. And finally we have the sweep direction, whether it is clockwise or counterclockwise. Let's take clockwise. And what else? Finally we have something called stroke. Let us put it 0. I don't know what it is. You know what? Nothing worked. So the point, what does it say? Height and width and height must be non-negative. So so what's happening is, in the XAML constructor, the 10 and 10 are first two is not the point. It is expecting the size at first. Let me remove the last one and see. Now what's the problem? Position at 65. Okay. Okay, guys, I had to take a small look into the MSDN website, the Microsoft Docs website. So it's actually expecting size first. Let me put it here. Arc is expecting size first, and then the three things: rotation angle, and clockwise, and then sorry, this large arc, sweep direction, and finally the point. So it's the other way around. So oops, it's the other way around. So let us do it like that. So the 10 comma 10 doesn't go in here. You have the 10 comma 10, which is the size, and then 0, which is your which is a rotation angle, large arc, and sweep direction. Rotation angle, large arc, no, and sweep direction clockwise, and finally you give your point. So this is how it's done. So since you see, let us just try something. Instead of sweep direction in clockwise, if you put anti-clockwise, it will go from this side. So you see, from this point, I'm going clockwise. I'm increasing up. If I put 0 here, then I go anti-clockwise. I go from here. So it's totally up to you. And we need only clockwise always. So and then this one, large arc or not. Let's put 1 and see how it is. So what happens is, still the size of the arc is like 10 here and 10 here. I'm sorry, 10 radius and 10 height, but still this is kind of like a large arc. An arc can also be achieved with the given values, a large arc or small arc. Let us put 0 here, and I will do one thing. I will change this to 5 comma 5. The like x is 5 and y is also 5. An endpoint I don't need to give until this value. So endpoint I will give -5 and -5, a small endpoint. From here I'm going to draw a straight line again. So it's a vertical line which goes like 5 values in the opposite direction. 5 values in opposite direction, and then it closes it up. So now we know how to draw the arc. So arc is I'm extremely sorry for the previous hiccup. So it takes like size, rotation angle is large arc, sweep direction, and point. Now let me go back here. Now that we know how this thing works, let me go to our window here, and let us or we will do here itself. We will start drawing. Let me remove everything. Remove everything, and let us start drawing a folder. So how do we start drawing a folder? Let me go back to my whiteboard, and I will draw something here in the top. Okay, we have these many points that we need to do. So if you see here, starting from this point, if you take this as 1, what happens is we can draw from right and we can go until here. But when you reach at this last point, you will need to draw that arc again. You cannot use a Z to connect to the endpoints. So what I suggest is, if you start from here, you can start with an arc and you can reach up to here and go and here, and when you reach this endpoint you just call Z and it will close up, so it will be easy for us to handle. So that's what I'm going to do. Let us assume something as well. This height, see, now we are using it directly in this XAML, but it is possible, since it is just a data, you can this data, you can fill this using your let me press F12 here. You will see it is a dependency property. So data is a dependency property, which means that you can bind the data value. So this data you can bind it from your code begin. You can bind a string value, the whole string, and then you can put it as a string and bind it here, and then this will still work the same way. But at present in this video, we are only going to discuss about how you are entering the string here. So the reason why I'm saying this is, let's say this one is going to be kind of like a static or a fixed value, but if you want this corner radius in your custom implementation, if you want this corner radius to be changeable, like you enter 10, you enter a value and then it should change, then it is still possible because you'll be using a string. So for my case, I'm going to take 10 as my corner radius, and then the height I will let's say that we can define. So based upon the size and width, it will stretch. How do I put it? Proportionately, it will stretch or increase proportionately. So I'm going to build a 1:1 folder path, which based upon the increase in size should develop actually, or expand. But this is not the only solution or option available. So let us start from here. As I said, my 1:1 ratio, in my 1:1 ratio, the size is going to be 100%. So I need to understand that this is 100%, right? Let's say starting is here. This is my 0, point 0. The topmost line here is my 0.00, but I'm going to start with down minus x. I'm sorry, x is down, right? So x is 0, sorry, y is down, y is 10. So I'm starting at 0, 10 because I'm not moving my x, I'm just going down and I'm starting from this point and I'm starting with the curve. So once you know, once you see, it will be easy for you. Okay, so m, let's go y, x is 0 and y is 10. We have now the starting point, and stroke thickness, let me make it 3 so that it will be easy to identify. And I'm going to build an arc which is not a capital arc, a small arc of size 10 right, 10 up. Sorry, size is width is 10, height is 10, and I don't need a rotation angle. And then it is not a large arc, 0, and draw it clockwise 1. Yes, clockwise is 1, and position is where is my position? If you see here, position is from this point I'm going up 10, so minus 10, and right plus 10, so up 10 and minus 10, so 10 positive right side, minus 10 up. There we go. There we go. And let me remove the fill because it doesn't make sense at this point. Okay, and stroke as well, we can make it 2 so that it looks maybe 1 is fine, I believe. Okay. So I have my arc here, and how long do I need to extend? So horizontal line maybe 100. Oops, that's very long. So let's say maybe 80. And after this 80, I'm going to go down cross, right, like it's in the diagonal. So imagine you have a square and you are going from diagonally, means, right, x and y should be same so that it will be at a 45-degree. X and y are same, so line which goes come on, again and again. I hate this auto filling or intelligence. It's not so intelligent. X10, Y10. Let's make it X 30. So the height is 30 and Y is 30. So it's now 45-degree. It doesn't make sense. It is very bad. So 20 and 20. And this is 100 and 20. Okay. And after this is done, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move again horizontal. No, since this is blue, it's not visible clearly. Now this is fine. Okay, horizontal, let us move one more, maybe 90, and then let us draw one arc again, arc which is going 10 right and 10 down, and the arc has no rotation angle and it has no big segment and it is clockwise. Yes, true. And the first one is 10 10 size, so it's now 10 10 location, so now it's perfect. Now let us go down, let's say maybe vertical maybe 100, a little more 140, a little more 150. Okay, 140 makes sense. And then an arc. Now the arc should go towards your left, right? So arc, first let us finalize the size. Arc 10 size, 10 width, 10 height, and then no rotation angle, and 0 for no large arc, and 1 for clockwise direction. And finally we have go left minus 10 and go down plus 10. Go left to go down. What if you put minus 10 here? It will be like this because you are going left and you are going up. If you remove this, it will be like this. And if you put 0 here, it will be an internal clockwise, so it will be something like this. So put 1. And horizontal, how long do we need to move? We need to now calculate the distance distance here. How do we know the distance exactly? We don't know. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to make a mix, a mix of the absolute values, because I cannot calculate, because here there is some value here, value. I don't want to calculate anything. Whatever it is, I'm going to go until this starting point where my x is 0 and y is whatever my current y is. So draw a horizontal line which goes till 0. You see, if I put small h and 0, it won't move anywhere, because small h means that small h means you are adding that relative value. I don't want relative, just take my absolute coordinate value and go until 0. So go until 0. But does this make sense? No, because we already have 10 here. So don't go until 0, but go until 10. So there is a 10 difference here. And then again an arc which size is 10, 10, 0 for no. How many times will I forget it? So this is something 0, and this is no large arc, and this is clockwise, and then location is minus 10 and go up 10. So up is like minus 10 again. So and then you finish my point with Z. Ta-da! You got it. Now, now that you got it, all you need to do is let us just delete this and finish it up, and let us put the whole thing inside viewbox. Should I put it inside a viewbox? So you can, like, viewbox size, you can say like height is 200 with this 200, and it will be like this. If you say with this 400, it will be distorted. No distorted, it will proportionately increasing. Anyhow, that's fine. So we have something here. Okay, let us cut this out. Go back to our main window. Add it as a resource inside your data template for custom card. Now let us add a resource, or let's say inside your border here. Go down to your grid wherever you have this. You don't need to put it inside a grid. Let us put everything inside a grid and put first the view box and then my border. So border stays above my view box. And let me adjust something. The height and with whatever I have it here, let me try to give here as well. So there is something, we don't see it yet. So this background of the border, I will make it transparent at present, or maybe like this. So we have something here. But the problem is, if your content becomes something, it will not cut the shape. So like you add it, it is not cutting it out. So assign it a value. X name is vbox folder maybe, and then there is something I need to try. Path folder. I didn't actually prepare it before, so we will try to clip it with viewbox. If not, we will clip it with the path, because I know for a fact that path works. I have never tried to clip it with the viewbox before, which we are going to try now. What is a clip? A clip means that you have some other element, and your element shape will adapt to the another element shape. So like clip based upon element binding, right? Binding element name is VBbox folder, and it doesn't directly clip. You need to set clip to bounce as true. Did it clip? It definitely didn't clip. Why? Because the view box doesn't work. That's totally fine. Let me cut this height and width and put it inside my path and remove the view box. And instead of view box folder, I will put path folder. How beautiful. Even this didn't work. Okay, let us try and see what's the problem. Ah. So it's not just directly the path, let me do something. Let me go back to viewbox and confirm the viewbox actually works. It's not just directly the viewbox because viewbox is like viewbox. You need to have the geometry. So each element will have something called rendered geometry. Rendered geometry. Ah, okay. So viewbox doesn't have a rendered geometry. That's fine. Maybe I'm mistaken. It's okay to be wrong. Path folders render geometry. It did cut here. So let us do one thing. Let us first run this debug and see how it looks. So we could see that the border, if you take a look at the close, okay. I could see a couple of problems here. First, if you see this point, it is distorted a little bit, and the slope is also at the end, which means that it looks something like this. Once we tried to do the debug, it came like this. The reason is even though you give height and width, you see the shape is like this. When you select the path, you see the shape is getting down at here and it's cut down. So you need something called as I think stretch is fill, so that it fills like this. Let us try to run. And now the problem is it is only showing us the border. It doesn't show up our background here, and inside we already have a grid, right? Let me add a color to the grid. Even this doesn't show up, so even the whole border itself is clipped. The reason is when it gets rendered, the path is empty, so which means that the path is the key idea here. So make the path as any color, give it color or make it transparent. Path is the key here. Mhm. So let us try to make the path. Where is my path? Okay, so it's clearly obvious that this is not working. So let us not lose hope. Let us remove the clip item. Instead, we will go with the usual and the most commonly used opacity mask. So it's very simple. Instead of using the uh, did it change color? When I look at the code, it is of a different color. Okay, so the visual brush, instead of clipping, I'm going to I take this path and that is going to be my opacity mask. Whatever else is there, it's not going to be visible. So this visual is going to be binding to element name path folder. Let's try now and see whether it works. Ta-da! So it works. So the I don't know why the clip doesn't work or didn't work. Maybe there could be a lot of other reasons, but before it used to work for me a long time back. There could be some problem, but that's fine. So now I'm going to do something. I'm going to make this margin 15 and see if it looks fine. That's fine. It is not distorted. 20 and see if it looks fine. That looks fine. 10, that looks totally fine. But I don't need to put my margin in this place. Let the margin be just 2 here, but the actual margin should be on my content template. So margin is equal to maybe 5, and let me copy this here, 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 and this looks fine now. And I need to change something else as well, which is this path. I'm going to test something, but this is data template. This obviously cannot be taken out, because then the data template will not be able to access the resources from the window. Data template is like a template which is totally away from your, until it is loaded, it is not present in the part of your visual tree. So so let it be there. The path is there and border is there. Let us try to change the height and see whether it is fine. 150. Is it distorted? It is distorted. You see, if your height is there, it is getting distorted. Let us do some trial. Make this width as 90. It is totally distorted. First, let us remove our stroke and stroke thickness. We don't need to see this. What will happen if it opens up like this? Since this is not clipping, it is obviously going to be visible for the user. We don't need this thing. So when you are binding your height and width, what should happen is, whenever you change the height of your border, the height of the width also should get changed. Like this is 90, and then it looks fine. If you go down and see, even then the distortion is there, because the data itself is set with this 10 and other values. So if you're going to bind it from your code behind, like this data value, if you're going to bind it from your from your view model or code behind, just remember to modify the corner radius values based upon the width that you are going to give. And then the thing is, if you are going to build it as a custom control, it will totally make sense, because in the custom control, on applying the template, you will be able to modify these things. But at present, let us make it as 140, 140, 100, and 140, 100, and remove the stroke and stroke thickness. I don't want it to be seen anywhere. Now that looks fine. So now we have something else like this. So now we have our path geometry, and the grid is here. Let us try to build something. uh, Grid dot, come on, grid dot row definitions, row definition, row definition. Height is equal to, let's say, 20, 15. So height is at 15, but my data is getting stuck here. It should be visible only in this area. So maybe I can add another column and cut it here and ensure that all my data header goes there. So this one, let us keep it at grid.row is equal to 1. So it goes into the bottom. And if I have a header, which I would like to put it here, what I would do, I will add a new grid, and then I will say grid.column definitions, column definition, column definition, and the column, okay, it looks perfect, because with this equal to, instead of putting it at exactly the center, 0.6 times the star. So which means, or maybe 1.2 times the star. So it goes here. Then inside which I will add a text block and say text is equal to something like this, and then wrapping is equal to wrap with overflow. And let's put this font size as maybe N9. So we ensure that this stays inside here. Still we didn't wrap it, right? So what if this is 12? This goes up because this is a grid. So if you bind the width to this column definition width, let's say like X name is column definition header, and this width is equal to binding to element name column definition header, path is equal to actual width. It's not rapid overflow, rapid force wrapper. Even then, I do not see it. Well, Maybe it is wrapping. Maybe we need to keep it as 7 and see. Okay, it is wrapping, but since the height itself is less, we are not able to see that. So you know the drill. Like you know how to handle it now. So you can maybe make the header size bigger, or you can keep the text little bit, like say um, finance department, and you can add some margins as well here. Margin is 5. That's very bad. Margin is 5,0, and there you go. So based upon your view model, the data is binded to this will have different values. And let us remove the green color from the grid and see whether the border is now properly visible. That's totally fine. And this text block, uh, foreground should be white. Let's try to build it to see. There we go. But we do not see the header there. There should be some reason for it. So grid is here, and grid row definitions is here, and the top grid is there, and foreground is here, top grid. Let me try to add a background. It's horrible. Okay, so I'm not going to spend much time on this internal thing, but now you should get an idea about how the path geometry works, and you can use the path geometry to use it as a opacity mask. The thing is, this instead of this opacity mask, the clip to bounce and clip should also work, but maybe I need to little bit investigate further why it doesn't work at this point. It could be because it is present inside the data template, so that when it is replicated, the name path folder is replicated again. But I'm still, I could not be sure at this point. But let us do a quick review. So when you are building something, do remember about this data. M stands for moving it up, and L is for line command, H is horizontal. So it's like moving with the pen. H and V are exactly like L, but in H, Y is always 0, and V, H, X is always 0. We didn't take a look at S, but yes, we did take a look at arc, and the close is also the same. So it's a long video for a very small feature, but that will be all. Maybe when I get some time, I will try to prepare another detailed video about smooth Bezier curve and other curves. Thank you.